I hope you're all keeping safe and well at home. Here's my thought of the day for you. What I try to hold in my mind when I see something on the news that worries me is that humans have faced big challenges in the past and they've always found ways to survive and to thrive. And most of these stories about past events actually involve scenarios that are way more challenging than anything that we will ever hopefully experience in our modern day lives with all the technology and knowledge that we have. I'm not trying to belittle what we're all experiencing at the minute. It's momentous, but just to reassure you that actually humans are resilient, we're creative, we're problem solvers, and that beyond this is normality. And we will be going back there soon, and the human story just keeps going. So I wanted to give you an example of how history can help you to make sense of things, and I hope to find some hope as well. It's a story about another disease that has flu-like symptoms, the plague. Now, most of you have learnt about this. We've learnt about the Black Death. We've learnt about how this disease swept into Europe from Asia and had devastating consequences. There's a much later outbreak of the same disease, which I'm going to share with you today, which is really inspirational. So during the 1665 to 1666 outbreak of the plague, one small village in the north of England received some cloth from London that contained the fleas that had the plague disease in them. And so pretty quickly, the villagers started dying of the disease. The local priests were smart enough to realise that if the villagers panicked and tried to escape, they would take the disease with them to the surrounding towns and countryside. So they persuaded the villagers to stay. No one was allowed to leave. No one was allowed to enter the village. They basically faced death in an attempt to save the life of other people. I don't think we can even begin to understand how incredible this act of self-sacrifice actually was. On June the 24th, 1666, 350 people quarantined themselves into a 1 mile radius circle. And by the end of the summer, 260 of them had died just a few months later. Yet remarkably, no one tried to cross the stones that marked the boundary of the quarantine area. Just maybe if we look at one story of those people, it will help you to see how remarkable this really was. There was a lady called Elizabeth Hancock, and she buried 6 of her children and her husband, one after the other, one day after the next. Now, people had to bury their own dead, so she had to carry this out herself. And villagers from around her village stood on the hillside and watched her, and she had to drag the bodies across the field and actually bury them herself. I mean, it's really astonishing that under these extreme conditions of suffering, that nobody broke the quarantine. And actually, as a result, the story has a really happy ending in that although it was very tragic for the village of Eyam, the surrounding countryside and the towns and the villages and all the people were saved because the disease didn't spread out of Eyam village. So I'm telling you this story for several reasons. It's a really good reminder of what I said right at the beginning, that humanity can and will persist through even the most frightening and hopeless of circumstances. And I think it's also a really good story to think about if you're wondering why we're in quarantine at the moment. It's because it does work. And if we all make sacrifices and stick to it, there'll be a positive outcome. I do want to finish by pointing out that we are not facing an unknown disease and almost certain death in the situation that we're in. We're only being asked to temporarily give up our freedom to protect others. And when it's all over, you know, will you be proud of the part you played in this historic event? Be inspired by what the villagers in Eyam did. Realise that you can and will make a difference, and that we can all look forward to this being just another event in a history book eventually. Okay, you're safe when you're at home, girls. Good luck. Okay, bye.